So this is the first time I'm going to try to cut a hole for the hinges of the ultra heavy collars that I make. I used to use a specialist to do this, but I decided to do it myself. And I bought myself this very powerful magnetic drill press with an annular cutter, which allows me to cut very big holes without too much effort. The drill press magnetizes against the work table, and I had to clamp the workpiece against the table as well so it doesn't move around, since the machine has a lot of torque and it's able to twist the workpiece around. Don't mind the wobbling central bit that you can see moving around. It's not really crucial apparently with that length to stabilize the annular cutter. I wish it did, but it's actually intended to open the tap for the cooling fluid to come running down the annular cutter. So the moment the central pin gets pushed in, the cooling fluid starts running down and it prolongs the life of the annular cutter. Unfortunately, out of habit, I did not record the initial attempt at cutting, which was a bit crude and the cutter started wobbling about, testing to see whether it cuts okay, how much pressure I need to put, whether the cooling fluid is running, and gradually I figure out also how quickly I need to run the machine before the cooling fluid starts evaporating too fast. Fine-tuning exactly how much pressure and how much speed I need, and thankfully that machine has plenty of adjustment and power to handle this piece. And this is a time when the machine managed to move the workpiece a bit, so I had to stop, otherwise the cut wouldn't be correct and the cutter will be rubbing against the walls of the hole. And I tried to move the workpiece back by tapping it with a small hammer, and since that didn't quite work well enough, I had to bring out the big one, and that did the job. I was pleased that after I got used to the machine, actually the cutting time was not long at all. In a few minutes I was ready. And here comes the time when the cutter goes through and the hole is done. The good thing about the annular cutter is that it removes very little amount of metal and the central core of the cut gets pushed out, so it doesn't have to be shredded to pieces, and that allows the machine to do a lot less work. The hot cooling fluid is still steaming out. The cut is quite straight and pretty smooth. And yeah, I'm glad I got this big chunky boy of a machine. It definitely has the grunt to handle that big task. I was still surprised how big of a pile that cutting process caused, even though a lot of material didn't have to be cut.